see the way they hate. And I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sunlight shining in.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Brian, and welcome to episode 864 of the Lost Project Morning Show, where the coffee's strong, the opinions are stronger, and everything's filter-free. Today's date is November 17th, 2025. This morning, I'm enjoying a fresh cup of FTO Blonde Espresso from foodforestfarms.com because life's too short for shitty coffee. At Food Forest Farms, your beans are roasted by real human hands using a clean stream air roaster. More than just a customer, your family. Get 10% off with code LOTS10, and shipping is always free. While you're there, check out the C4 Club for even more awesome perks. Today, I've got another packed show with dash lights and alternator adventures with the big old red truck, the Northern Lights, and tinfoil hat chatter that followed. The latest Bitcoin news, couple of interesting things, and we'll talk about the Bitcoin price guessing contest and more. Grab your coffee, smash that like button. Let's get started. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing today? Hope you're all doing great. It's been an interesting week for sure. Definitely an interesting week. Didn't really go as I had planned. Some good, some bad, and a little bit of adventure. So anyway, here we are again, another Monday morning. I don't know what's going on with the computer. I played the intro and I didn't hear anything on my end. So hopefully it played. I don't know. Hopefully the mic's working. I'm not really sure about that either. It's just odd that the volume didn't come through. So good morning, Hunter, over on Twitch. Thanks for popping in. Everything good on your end, Hunter? And my lighting is all weird. I don't know. Okay, Hunter says the mic's good. That's good because everything else is kind of off this morning. So we'll see. Anyway, let's get to it. FTO Blonde Espresso in the cup this morning. This is another one of my favorites. I keep saying that every week, but that is the truth with Food Forest Farms beans. Really, whatever Brian sends me, and I think this is a combination of one, his coffee is fantastic and it hits the spot. Good morning, Cormac. From across the pond. Thanks for stopping in. He says the mic and the intro is good. Good. So it's only the speaker on my computer that's messed up. So perfect. Anyway, Brian, the beans from Food Forest Farms are always fantastic. But I think in combination with joining the C4 Club and him getting to know you, him getting to know your tastes, and really taking the time to understand what you like and why you like it. He's able to send the perfect beans every month. So definitely head on over to foodforestfarms.com. Check out all the bean offerings there and consider signing up for the C4 Club and grabbing some awesome premium air roasted coffee every month. My order is on the way and I'm excited to get it again this month. So foodforestfarms.com. I need it this morning. It's been a rough. John Palmer over in Telegram says, "Is there a show today?" It looks like everything's sideways. Good morning, Mike's Homestead. Thanks for popping in. I guess I did have. I had it set up for vertical and horizontal video, so landscape and vertical video. StreamYard's been doing updates like crazy, the program that I use to live stream this, and they made an option where you can send both style videos to YouTube in one thing. And I'd tried that before. I'd messed around with it before. The problem is with my setup here, I only got a couple, like 8, man, what's that, like 9-12 inches, something like that, in between me and the camera. And when I go to vertical video with the same camera view, it's like just like right here up on my face. And when I pulled it up this morning, I was like, holy shit, no, that's enough of that. And so I canceled that out. And that might have been something to do with why the camera and the sound and everything's messed up. But anyway, let's get back to it. Oh, John Palmer saying over in Telegram that the live is not showing for him. So if anybody wants to drop that link over for John Palmer in the Telegram chat, that'd be fantastic. Oh, all right. Where are we? Anyway, Bitcoin price. Let's do Bitcoin price right away. Every week, every Monday, we're during the week in the Telegram chat, we're guessing the Bitcoin price for the following Monday. My guess, right up here. Last week, my guess was 111,111. Actual Bitcoin price right now, let's check in on the ticker tracker, is 95,234. 95,000, under 100,000. You can pick up some Bitcoin. Good morning, Canadian Farmstead. Thanks for popping in. $95,234. So my guess last week, 111,111 is not even close. But I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all because John Palmer is the farthest away this week. John Palmer rang in with a 125,000 guess, or maybe, I don't even know. I didn't actually check that, but I'm noticing right now that it just says 12,500 on my notes. Maybe I miscopied it, but either way, way off. Rachel, Rewilder Life, came in with 117,650, quite a ways off, and Mona tried to pull the prices right and underscore by picking 117,001. Those are off. We had some other guesses kind of far off in the middle. Blueberry, Texas, thanks for guessing. Pip was off again this week. Chris Dixon getting closer, but not quite there. Carson, our winner from last week, he came in third place. Good morning, Martinson family. Thanks for stopping in. Carson came in third place, 103,750. Canadian Farmstead in second, close but no cigar, with 102,500 guess. And scrambling, coming in with the win. Brian from foodforestfarms.com coming in with the win. Closest guess this week is 98,500. We're about 3,300 off. 3,300 off. Not bad. Scrambling. 98,500. I put my guess in for the week. I don't know where here's my marker. I've been off pretty far lately. We got 95,000. We got 7 days. I'm gonna put my guess in for next week at let's say 109,123. 109,123 is my guess for next week. 109,123 is my guess for next week. If you want to put a guess in, head on over to the Telegram chat, and after the show, I'll have pinned message with my guess, and then I'll copy and paste. So just reply to that message and make your guess, and you'll get on the list. Canadian Farmstead's wondering if 95K is the new top or the new bottom. I think neither. I'll talk about it a little later if there's time. But I read a theory about where we're at right now, and it's not horrible. It's just there's a high chance that this is kind of going to be the bottom, and then we're gonna take a little jump up over the all-time high. Some other slightly, well, in this guy's opinion, I've read a bunch of different theories, and the one guy that made sense, and it kind of echoed through a bunch of different people, and I don't know if it's because they were following him or if it's a generally held theory, but the most likely chance is 95-ish is going to be the bottom there, and we're going to pop up after this, and then there's another chance that we'll pop down to 90, and that'll be the bottom. Hunter says 90,000 $1 bills for a digital blip bloop. I'd rather have the digital blip bloop than the $1 cuck buck. So we'll see. Good morning, Rewilder Life. Thanks for stopping in. She says she's late to the party. Yeah, you missed your guess. it was a valiant effort. It was a valiant effort on your Bitcoin guess. We will see if you do a little better next week. But anyway, if you're holding Bitcoin, does it really matter if 95 is the top, the bottom, the in between for right now? Because it eventually it's going to go up. I believe. Not financial advice. Don't take that as financial advice. But if I had to bet, if somebody had a gun to my head and said, if in 1 month, even 1 year, will Bitcoin be higher than 95? I don't know. Canadian Farm says yes. If I wasn't holding, I wouldn't care. Just busting balls. Anyway, let's get to it. That's the Bitcoin update. I got a little bit of other Bitcoin stuff on the list here for a little later, but I wanted to get to these two topics. Kind of a theme for the show this week is lights. It had a bunch of dash lights, a couple different dash lights, and then also the northern lights earlier this week. So let's start with the truck. It was an interesting week with the truck. Beginning of the week, I would say Sunday, Monday-ish, I had my gas cap light come on. You ever dealt with that? You know that they can just be infuriating. It came on. It wasn't after I filled with gas, so I wasn't sure if it was the cap or not. There's several things. It could be the cap seal, the neck evap system, the general evap system in the truck. It could have been a bunch of things. So I was just going to give it a little bit, see if it was the gasket. The light stayed on for a few days, and then the check engine light came on, and I was like, well, shit, this might be more than just the gas cap. Eventually, I was like, okay, whatever. I stopped. I took the gas cap off. I cleaned the little gasket in there. I cleaned the edge of the fill neck, and put the cap back on. And lo and behold, the gas light went off. And then the next time I started the truck, the check engine light went off. And I was like, perfect. And so this was Wednesday. I want to say Wednesday morning. And Corey and I go get groceries on Wednesday night, and I told her, I was dealing with the gas cap light, and I got it to go off. I was like, yeah, I was all proud. I fixed the truck, and so the light was off. Everything was good. All we had was our tire pressure sensor fault light, because one of the tire fills with the pressure sensor is gone, and so it just is going to be there, because I'm not paying. It was over $100 for a valve stem that had the pressure sensor in it, when I have an aftermarket pressure sensor anyway. So that's just always on the truck. So that was down to the bare minimum of lights. And so we went to get groceries. We had some dinner. We got groceries, and we were on our way back from groceries, and it's about 25-minute drive. I think it's 25 minutes, 17 miles, something like that. And we're pulling out of the parking lot, and the battery light came on. The battery light, the red battery light. And most check engine lights, or a lot of them, are yellow, and the red battery light comes on, and it's not flashing; it's just on. And I'm like, that's weird. It's a fairly new battery, within, I think, a year. I think it was about a year ago, maybe, that I changed the battery. I hadn't had any trouble with it starting. I was like, oh shit. Just going through my years of old beater cars, and over the years, different things and knowledge, I was like, it's never good when the battery light comes on when the car is driving. In my experience, that usually pointed to an alternator. But nothing seemed to be dimming. It was dark. I did have the headlights on, and I had almost said something about the headlights being a little dim. but it's an old truck. It's it's going on 15 years old. The headlights are kind of foggy, and it's just not, it's not like they're not the bright ass halogen lights that you see coming at you. So maybe they just looked dimmer. And so I said to Corey, I was like, "Hey, the battery light came on," and so we're driving, and I'm like, "Man, we got like 25 minutes to get home. I don't know what we should do." But we had a backseat full of groceries. We really didn't have anybody to call to give us a ride, and we didn't know what we were going to do if it died. And we were like, "So let's go for it. Let's go for it." We drove home, made it home, ended up getting stuck behind some guy that was going like 10 miles under the speed limit, and then we had a couple people on our ass because he was going 10 miles under the speed limit, and the road that we were taking is man, it's really hilly, and a lot of curves. And so we get home, make it home, I shut the truck off, and I was like, I'm gonna deal with it in the morning. We put the groceries away. I'm going to deal with it in the morning. I'm going to troubleshoot it. In the morning, I go out and I started troubleshooting it, and quickly found out that it was the alternator. And man, just lucky that we had the size battery we have in the truck, because I was reading. I was like, I'm pretty sure if that battery died, we'd have been pretty cooked. We would have lost everything and in the truck, and all the power, obviously. And so I was trying to think about what that was. I did a little searching, and you know, brake assist on that truck is power steering, the headlights, the tail lights, everything's going to go. And thinking about the fact that that could have happened on the road we had to take, scared the shit out of me. It really scared the shit out of me, because um, it could have been really bad. I laugh about it now, but that morning it kind of freaked me out, because I was like, that could have been really, really bad, especially the situation we were in with the two people riding our ass and the curves. And that's a big ass truck to be turning when the power steering randomly goes out, or the brakes randomly don't work as well. I I could see why people lose their vehicles over the edges of some of these curves. So that was super scary. So Saturday, Rewilder says, I've driven without power steering and brakes before. It's not cool. Yeah, and I have too. And I was just trying to imagine going from losing the power steering on some of these curves and hills and stuff on this drive, and I was like, it could have been really bad. It could have been really bad. But we have a huge battery in that truck, and it did make it all the way home. So started troubleshooting, uh, and it was obvious pretty quickly that it was the alternator. Tested for wiring breaks. Ford was known for their 2-wire connector to the alternator, breaking some wires in there. I troubleshot back. I made sure the battery was okay. The battery's holding charge. It really didn't seem to be the battery, and everything really pointed to the alternator. And so I started hunting for an alternator. I didn't have any way to get it. That's one thing, because it was dead, and I was like already freaked out about getting lucky driving it and having it not die while we were driving it. I I really I was trying to find the closest place to go get one, figuring out if I could charge the battery to full and take off and make it home to work on. And it really appeared from all the research I could do that I probably would end up driving it to the parts store and changing the alternator in the parking lot. And I really didn't want to do that. I'm not a parking lot worker. I've seen too many of that. I've participated in it, and it's no fun. It's always better to be able to work at home and not in the parking lot of an auto zone or something like that. So I kept looking. I kept looking. I found the alternator I needed, well, a version of it, at a couple different places, and then I realized our friends here over in Scotts Hill, Norman and Herschel, are over in kind of close to us, and I started searching closer to them for the part, and I reached out and I said, "Hey guys, what are you doing this afternoon?" Because I found an alternator. It's within 5 minutes. I think it was like 7 minutes from your house. Is there any way that I can order it and pay for it? You guys can pick it up and bring it over and drop it off. Save it would save our ass, and they agreed. They're always there to help, and appreciate that greatly. Ordered it, paid for it, and they picked it up. I got the other one out before they came. I had to dick around a little bit with the tools I had, and make some stuff work, but I was able to get it out no problem. It really came out fairly easy, from what I was expecting, and bless you, Corey. It's located on the top of the truck, and the only really thing that I had to take out to get to it was like the air box and everything on top, all the air intake stuff on top of it, which comes apart pretty easy. And then the alternator is right there, and so they brought it over, and we were talking, we were bullshitting, and I wanted to get it back in before dark, and it was pushing up on dark with the time change and everything. And so I'm talking with them and kind of working, and I put it back in. I get the belt back on it, and I started up, and there was this really weird ticking noise, and I was like, what the hell is that? Thinking maybe I'm knocked something in the path of the fan or something. I didn't know. So I shut it off. They got ready to leave. They took off, and then I went to look at it again. Started it up, still had the ticking. I checked clearance on the fan. I knew the fan wasn't hitting anything. And so I shut it down again, and Corey's like, "Hey, that doesn't look right." She says after the fact. I had no idea what I was looking at or what it was supposed to look at like, but it didn't look right. I was like, okay. So I peek at what she's looking at. And sure as shit, the brand new alternator pulley. I shouldn't say brand new because the alternator is remanufactured. That's what I could find was a remanufactured one for that truck. And the pulley, the outside lip, so it's a 6-groove pulley, and the outside lip was bent over and touching the first rib. And I was like, well, that's not good. That's not going to work like that. And so I did a little digging. How bad it was? Could I bend it back? And all signs pointed to, you need to not turn it on like that anymore, because it's going to Canadian Farm says knowing when something doesn't look right is more important than knowing when it does. I suppose it does, really. All signs said, you're not going to be able to fix this fucking pulley. And I'm like, what do I do now? It's hard for me. I'll try to figure out any way I can to not have to ask somebody for help. That's just me, my nature, my whole life. You see that picture of the guy moving the couch with the rolly office chair, him holding one end and the other end on the office chair. That's me. Instead of asking somebody to help you carry it. And so I didn't want to ask my friends to go get another alternator for me. I couldn't drive this one. And I'm sitting there scratching my head going, what am I going to do? And I happened to look over at the old alternator, and I was like, well, the pulley's good on that one. Sure is. It sure is. And if I wasn't building the cabin and I had my impact and I happened to have a 24 millimeter socket, I could have probably got the pulleys off. Martinson family says swap the pulley. If I had an alternator pulley extraction tool, that would have helped. If I had an impact, if I had any way, if I had the right socket, I could have jammed something in the fan and hold the shaft to get the pulley off of the old one, because the old alternator was trashed anyway. And I was like, I don't know. And at this point, it's dark, and I'm like, this isn't going good. This is I gotta pick this up in the morning. And so I wake up the next morning, and I was talking to Corey, and I had this idea kind of overnight, and she said in the morning, she's like, well, why don't you ask the property owner that we're renting from? Why don't you ask him if he's got the tools you need? I was like, that's a great idea. She's like, he drives by every morning. And you could probably flag him down. He goes to unlock his storage stuff. And so I got out there and I had to take the new alternator out anyway. So I went out and I started working on it a little before the time he normally drives by. I was working on it. I hear his side by side coming. I wave him down. I was like, hey, you got an air impact? You got do you have a tool to pull this pulley off? Anything? He's like, yeah, I'm sure I got something. And I figured he has a tractor. He has all sorts of stuff. He has a shop over at his place, and so he's like, yeah, let me go do my stuff and then walk it over. Canadian Farm says, how far did you toss the alternator? I didn't actually toss the alternator. And so I finished getting the stuff out real quick, and I walk over both alternators. I walk over to his place, and he had his air compressor tank filling. When I got over there, he had his air impact out and the sockets, and bam, we put it on. And really 10 seconds later, the bad pulley was off, and another 10 seconds later, the good pulley was off the old alternator, and we swapped them. And man, it was like, oh, it was a relief. Really. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like my impact was a half an hour away at the cabin site. I know I have a socket that big, but I didn't in the truck or anything. I think it's packed away in a tool tote at the property. I just didn't have anything to make it happen, and luckily he did. And man, the right tools. It's a super simple job. And I knew that from not necessarily alternator, but swapping pulleys and stuff in previous jobs. I was like, this is easy. This is easy stuff. This is really actually easier than changing the alternator. So I was pissed off that I didn't have the tools to do it. And so anyway, we get the new pulley on the old pulley on the new alternator. I go install it and get the belt back on, and bam, fire it up, and she runs great. She was it tracked fine. It all the voltages were good, and it took care of the issue. The battery light was gone. But the weird part was as soon as I fired it up, I got a low fuel warning. I got a bunch of other warnings on the dash, and I was like, what is going on? Sorry, guys, I got an itch in my eye today. I don't know if it's a cat hair, a dog hair, something in there. Anyway, I had all these other dash lights. The gas gauge wasn't working. Half the gauge clusters weren't working. And I'm like, really? Really? We're going to do this now? And so did some fuse testing, and nothing was really bad. I started the truck a couple times, and then all of a sudden, I think because of the extended time I had the battery unhooked, or maybe it arced when I was hooking the battery back up. Something reset the gauge cluster, and after 3 or 4 attempts, it popped right back on, and the gas gauge popped on. The other gauges that weren't working popped on. All the warnings cleared except for the tire pressure, which is, I know that's going to be that way anyway, forever. So everything was fixed, and had some people help me out, which is, like I said, it's foreign to me. I'm not a huge I don't ask for help quite often or very often, and man, I appreciate it when it happens. So thanks to Norman Herschel for grabbing that part. Thanks to my landowner for the 10 seconds of use of his shop tools, and it's all good. Truck's running good. And I thought we solved our radio mystery. I've mentioned it on the show before. Our radio, have really cheap aftermarket radio we got off of Amazon before we took off. Our 2011 truck had a radio. I think it might have had a cassette player in it. No, I think it was a CD player radio, or just a radio. And we wanted to have GPS on the screen. We want a larger screen with GPS on it, and So we bought a cheapo radio off of Amazon, and I put it in, and it worked fine for quite a long time. And then in the last year or so, it comes on when it wants. It always lights up. It always the buttons light up every time you start it, but sometimes it just won't load. It won't load to on. It won't come on for 4, 5 times in a row that you start the truck, and then all of a sudden it'll work. Um, and I mean, it is what it is. We don't really listen to the radio that much, so it's always like a nice surprise when the radio works when you jump in. But then after I changed the alternator, and I didn't know if it was a lack of power for some reason, if the alternator was slowly dying, or if the extended period of being unplugged or unhooked from the battery reset it somehow, like a hard reset. But anyway, the radio started coming on every time we started the truck. Ended up being like 10 times or 12 times in a row. And I was like, holy crap, we fixed the radio. The alternator fixed the radio. And then a couple days later, went started it, and the radio didn't come on. So still the same issues there, but I thought we got lucky and fixed our radio somehow. But no, we're going to continue to have random on and off on the radio. So that was a truck drama. Seems to be running. It seems to be running actually better than it did before the alternator changed. So maybe it was slowly going bad, and maybe it was causing some weird electrical issues, because they're all actually weird. So we will see how it goes. But an adventure getting that changed. Definitely an adventure getting it changed, and needed some help there. So those were my engine lights and my dash lights. Tuesday night, weird. Hold on one second, guys. I'll be right back with you. All right. Weird that that the northern lights were happening the day before my check engine light or my battery lights, but earlier in the week, big news for sky watchers, for picture takers, for the internet, for the tinfoil hat crowd too. But lots of northern lights around the country, and way south. Actually, I saw and took a picture of some northern lights here. Canadian Farm says that Harp took out my alternator. We were seeing them down here in Tennessee. I was shocked. I was actually shocked. I told Corey when I came in, I said, it's either the northern lights or something huge is on fire over across the highway from where we're at. And it was bright red. It looked like something was on fire in the sky. Not on fire in the sky. It looked like something underneath the sky was on fire, and it was reflecting up into the clouds or something. But that's way down here in southern Tennessee. Like we're within an hour of Mississippi. We're not far. So we're southern Tennessee, and it was bright. Being from Minnesota, I've seen the northern lights a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. It's weird watching the frequency of them happening now, and I think that really feeds into all the stuff I was seeing online. But Tuesday night I saw them. Tuesday night wasn't even supposed to be the most spectacular viewing. That was supposed to be Wednesday night, I think. But man, there were a bunch of solar flares, electric. Was it coronal mass ejections? I think it's that what it's called. When the sun throws the electromagnetic pulses towards the earth. Seemed like there were a few of them, and they were getting bigger and bigger. And the first thing that popped into my head, not to be all tin foil on you, but really before I had even seen them on Tuesday night, and when I was reading about these cycles, that we're in a period where we're getting a lot of these pulses coming towards the earth from the sun, I kind of went, man, 3i Atlas just got as close to the sun as it's going to. It was behind the sun. Its trajectory put it closest point to the sun. I think we talked about it last week, maybe the week before, where we couldn't even see what it was doing. So, yes, it was as close as it was going to get, regardless of if it changed path, but it was behind the sun and it could easily changed course or just stayed on course. And then gets close to the sun, and then all of a sudden the sun gets super active. Um, lots of flares, lots of sending magnetic fields towards the earth, lots of northern lights, which is what causes the northern lights, is the electromagnetic fields hitting the atmosphere. Or from what I gather, I'm not a northern lights expert by any means. Hunter says, someone says Atlas has thrusters. I mean, do you know that it doesn't? Let me ask you, Hunter. You're joking about people saying that it has thrusters, but do you know if it doesn't have thrusters? I mean, I haven't seen it. I haven't actually inspected it. So yeah, who knows? But weird that it got close to the sun, then all of a sudden the sun acted up. And so I had my picture. I've talked a lot. Canadian Farm says he knows it doesn't have thrusters. Oh, you do you? I bust balls a lot about people taking Northern Lights pictures online, posting them like it's something new. Mine was my picture was more intended to prove that it actually happened this far south. I don't know. I didn't think they were super pretty. It was kind of frightening, actually, how bright red it was. It really looked like there was a grass fire or a forest fire coming at us. See those pictures? It wasn't the big dancing green and blue and everything. It did look odd. I didn't necessarily immediately think that something nefarious was going on, but looking at the picture that I took and looking at it in person, it wasn't the same Northern Lights that I've seen in Minnesota. Not even close. And so I was like, man, this is weird. And so I look into it a little bit, and it turns out the different colors come from viewing the reactions at different altitudes. And if you think about it, the further south you go, the more of an incline. You're going to see that at a higher altitude, and the color changes, and it lines up that it would be red the further down you go, the further latitude you go south. And the way it was setting up, it made sense that it would be red here. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that explanation. But when you search something on the internet and you have social media and you don't have it locked down, or even if you talk about things that Facebook's going to feed you shit you talk about, shit you look up. And so I don't know if it was Wednesday, maybe Thursday, Facebook really started feeding me posts about the Northern Lights and how they're not real. And me, being me, wanted to look at the comments. really wanted to look at the comments and see what people were saying, whether they were agreeing or disagreeing or what was going on. Man, my eyes are really red this morning. Sorry about that. I was just looking at the camera. It itches like crazy. I must have a pet hair of some sort in it. It's just the one eye, and it's driving me nuts. But anyway, I jumped into the comments on some of these threads, and the tinfoil prices probably should have skyrocketed about midweek, because holy crap, these people had it wrapped tight around their brains. Some of the different things that I saw. Um, One, I guess, was the one thing that popped into my head. Now, mine was more of a man. That was a coincidence. Not, I wholeheartedly believe that I3 Atlas was had something to do with causing the flares. But man, it really took a turn down the 3i Atlas road. A couple different theories about that. One was as simple as I had mentioned that it got close to the sun and it caused solar flares, so that the cause of the northern lights was actually still the solar flares coming and hitting our atmosphere, but the volatility of the sun was amped up by 3i Atlas, whether it was recharging, refueling, doing something to our sun to cause this. Who knows? One person surmised that they messed up, and it was supposed to be the EMP to end all EMPs. The sun was supposed to flare out and knock out everything on the Earth. Well, that didn't quite happen this time, but it was there. It was there. Hunter says it's the second coming for the 17th time. I did see that that the Northern Lights and they brought in actually the increased uptick of the Northern Lights and the fact that more people are seeing it. I did see that this was a sign that Jesus is coming. He isn't here yet, but this is a signaling of the beginning of the return. I don't know when the return is happening. Maybe at Christmas. We're getting close to Christmas, and that's Jesus's fake birthday. So maybe then, reborn on his fake birthday. So those were two. Another 3i Atlas theory was it was blocking signals. It was sending signals for reinforcements. It was sending back data to what it's finding as it explores our solar system, and it was blocking those signals that these northern lights were sending those solar flares, and the resulting northern lights were actually a disguise. It was a cover for the signals that they were sending out into the universes, the other universes, to signal whoever that they were signaling. They didn't really explain that part, but yeah, the spaceship was sending a signal out, and they needed to disguise it. So they fired up the sun and got it to send some pulses to mirror, not to mirror, to disguise their signals they were sending out. So, a couple 3i Atlas theories with blocking the signals and messing with the sun. Hunter says, everyone else stop guessing out loud. It says that no one can know the time or day. Y'all keep pushing it back with all these guesses. Hunter says he could be in heaven already. I don't know if that's where you're going. I don't know. Maybe. So the 3i Atlas covering their signal up, or just messing with the sun, possibly as nefariously as to knock out all our electronics on Earth with a huge solar flare that didn't work. But that was their plan. And then it took a weird turn. The chemtrail people popped in into the chat. Now entering the chat, chemtrails. And this happened on a couple of different threads. And so I don't know if this is bot pushed, if this is AI pushed, or what. But the pattern on the different posts seemed to be almost the same as I'm scrolling through the comments. Maybe it's algo post or algo push just specifically for me, and it showed me these in order for some reason. But anyway, they started talking about chemtrails, and that these northern lights aren't real, that they are reflections off the substances from the chemtrails. That people were swearing up and down that they had seen heavy chemtrail propulsion. I don't even know what you call it. Heavy chemtrail seeding over the areas that saw the northern lights, or what was claimed to be the northern lights. I don't know. I don't know. As they started talking about the chemtrails, I was like, oh, maybe stuff in the sky reflection, but what would be reflecting? And then came HARP. If you don't know what HARP is, it's the weather manipulating system. I don't know if that's what it's actually meant for, but that's what the theories are, that it's a weather manipulation system. The arguments in the comments were talking about the fact that that HARP has been turned over to university use, that it's not a government system anymore. But people were insistent that that between the chemtrails and the HARP system, that's what was bringing up all these beautiful northern lights, and these ones that just don't look right. And I was like, okay. Mike Homestead says it can't be because chemtrails are illegal in Tennessee, and that was my first thing, was it's illegal, so there's no way it's happening. That just this it's fooey and foo nanny, because they're illegal here. I don't know how they're monitoring that, but anyway, I'm start thinking, and I'm reading these comments, and I have to take a break every once in a while, because I mean there were thousands and thousands of comments on these posts. And so I take a little break, and I came back, and I've been thinking about it. I was like, okay, so chemtrails, they fire up HARP, they're pinging all these whatever they're spraying in the sky, they're making all these colors, and everybody's out watching them. I said, why? What is the end goal of this? Is it activating in the sky? Is it going to make us all sick? Is it going to make us crazy? Canadian Farm says they're completely ignoring the people that are watching the sun, who literally watched the flares and told us when the aurora would happen. Well, I mean, there is that. They could be fake. They could be lying, though, because the end goal is, and it all came together all at once. Project Bluebeam. If you don't know what Project Bluebeam is, it was stuff that was declassified in some documents that the government may or may not have come up with a plan to fake aliens, whether it be an invasion, an attack, or just a visit. We're gonna have aliens, and so if you think about it, with 3i Atlas circling the sun, and later this year, coming towards Christmas, it's going to be approaching its closest point to the Earth. If we are able to use chemtrails and HARP to light up the sky, what else could we use it for? Could we possibly have holograms of the invading aliens? If everybody goes out to look at the auroras, the beautiful northern lights, and take all their pictures, and it's being caused by HARP and chemtrails, maybe they can control it to maybe show some aliens coming, or maybe they can show Jesus coming back, or maybe they can show whatever they want. And I said, this is it. This is it. If the live stream goes dead here, we know that we've touched on something. But no, it all made sense. So anyway, they stopped. I don't know. I didn't go out and see him on Wednesday night when it was supposed to be the most intense. I'm guessing it was just the normal the normal solar flares and normal northern lights coming. And actually, they said that the solar flares were bigger than they had seen in decades, century. I don't remember what it was a long time, which they said explained why we could see the northern lights so far south. But it still questions, and I thought this before this whole past week, but like I mentioned, when we were in Minnesota, so I was in Minnesota 20 years ish, a little more, I think. And I think I saw the northern lights twice, maybe 3 times. And never super brilliant, like super bright. I saw him one night. We were up at Corey's family's cabin, and we happened to walk down by the lake. And I was like, "Wow, look at the sky! That's really weird." And we sat down and we realized that it was the Northern Lights. It wasn't like the whole sky lit up. It was enough, and we were pretty far up in Minnesota. I would say upper third of the state, so pretty far north. And it made sense. We were like, okay, well, Northern Lights. I saw him once on the farm. And then I saw one, I thought I saw him, and I wasn't sure while I was driving for work in the middle of the night one night. And that could have just been, I was tired, but none of them were ever as bright and brilliant as people are seeing now. And the frequency of occurrences seems like it's really escalating. Over the 20 years, I think I saw it less times than people have seen it this year. And that's probably one of the chided reasons I just like everybody's posting pictures of it. Like, this is like it's the same every time, and this is over and over and over repeated. But why the uptick in occurrences? Is the sun that much more active? Martinson family says he crosses the 51st parallel daily, sometimes northern lights in the morning. Is the sun more active? Is the something else causing these new northern lights? Because even the ones that I saw here in Tennessee were way brighter and different than any that I saw in Minnesota. The 3 times I saw it there, this was like more of a constant. Rewilder Life says yes, the sun is in an active phase. How long? What are the phase lengths though? Because I would have thought that in 20 years there would have been a peak similar to now. Or maybe it's longer cycle than that. And I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I definitely buy into the fact that the sun is in an active phase. But what is that cycle? Is it 50 years? Is it 100 years? Is it 10 years? I don't know. And like I said, before early 2000s, before 2002, I was in New York, and we were way lower, and I don't ever remember seeing the northern lights growing up. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, for sure. But Revival Life says no, like hundreds of years. What am I from what I've read? Okay, fair enough. I just don't want to run out of tinfoil if I need it. I don't want to run out. Anyway, those were the northern lights and some theories. So for you to think about and spread with reckless abandon across to all your friends that you heard that maybe it was HARP, maybe it was Project Bluebeam, maybe it was the return of Jesus, possibly 3i Atlas. There's just so many possibilities for the brilliant northern lights this past week. Got a few minutes here left. Let's hit some Bitcoin news. It was announced earlier this week that Square, Jack Dorsey owns Jack Dorsey, formerly of Twitter, currently owns Square and Cash App, and is big into Bitcoin. He announced the Square point of sale. If you're a small business owner, if you take funds, if you take funds now with Square, if you use Square as your payment processor, you have Bitcoin options. You can take payments in Bitcoin. You can take payments in fiat and have it converted to Bitcoin. You can take a percentage of your income from transactions in Bitcoin. And that's just all through your payment processor. So big news there. That is definitely big news for, I would say, for adoption, for ease of use, for exposure to the general public. Good thing. It was definitely a good thing when they announced that. And I was actually surprised that it took this long for him to do that. But I'm guessing there's a shit ton of regulations to jump around, and back end bookkeeping and things like that needs to be settled out when you're accepting Bitcoin as a payment form. So Square now offering Bitcoin processing. Canadian Farmstead says, why do you think they've been trying to get so hard to get you to church lately? Because Jesus is coming. The second coming of Jesus must be happening. I mentioned in the group the other day that that must have been Saturday. Saturday was a double dip day. Corey and I have we had never experienced it before we left Minnesota. As the further south we came, we found this phenomenon that we routinely get invited to church, which it is what it is. It's not my deal. It's not really my thing. It's not my scene. I actually have attended Bible studies. I've attended church. More questioning things. I'm very inquisitive. I ask questions, and usually the questions I ask aren't really receptive. They're not really received very well. There have been some Bible study I went to when I was in college, just to ask questions to. Good morning, Pip. Late to the party. Happy Monday to you, sir. There was a Bible study I went that these people were very engaging. They wanted to answer questions. They wanted to answer hard questions and have discussions, and it was fun. I find that normally that isn't the case. They welcome you with open arms, but in the end, they like really just don't want to have an argument, I guess is what you'd call it. But we found that as we come south, more and more people invite you to church. And Saturday was a double day. On our morning walk, we were offered a gentleman in a truck slowed down and offered us a Bible's Pathway. If you know what that is, it's the kind of the Bible study-esque pamphlet that folks hand out, and offered us that on the morning walk. I didn't really want to carry it with me, so I politely declined, and he took off. And then later that day on the second walk, we were actually invited to church by the neighbor and invited to their Thanksgiving celebration at the church. They were having a Friendsgiving. We already had plans, so we did not attend. And so, yeah, it was a big church day. Canadian Farmstead said that's human nature. People don't like their beliefs questioned, whatever they are. Yeah, I mean, and I get that, but I have questions. If you want me to believe in this and you want me to have faith in this, then you really need to acknowledge and answer my questions. And whether that be an I don't know, and maybe that's fine for me, or at least acknowledge that I have it and that it is up in the air, or you have a good answer for it. There's that too. So anyway, two invites to church this week, on top of the Alternator and the Northern Lights. So it's been Pip says faith or blind faith, and Canadian Farmstead says the Bible says people should be prepared to answer questions. You would think. You would think. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's time to get going. I got to get on dog walks. Got a big day, busy day ahead this week. And then this week, looks like we're going to get a bunch of rain. So until we get that rock down on the road out at the cabin, it's slow going. Corey and I got a new soft-sided garage put up. I got to go out and check, make sure that didn't blow away in the wind, but I'll get back. I will report back about that next week and any progress that we end up with this week. But anyway, hope you have a great week. If you want to get in on that Bitcoin contest, guess the price for next Monday, head on over to the Telegram chat at t.me/lotschat. There is no prize other than you get to say you won. So head on over to the Telegram chat and hang out with us all week. And other than that, I will catch up with you all next Monday.